The BBC and the independent outlet Mediazona have identified the names of 100,001 Russian soldiers who have been killed during the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The confirmed death toll now includes 24,200 volunteers, 16,100 recruited prisoners, and 11,600 mobilized soldiers, according to media outlets. Over 4,800 officers have also been confirmed to have been killed. Among the fallen officers were generals, colonels, and other high-ranking officials. Since the media outlet's last update in mid-March, the names of 2007 Russian soldiers have been added to the list of casualties. The most recent update marks a grim milestone for the project, which first began with the start of the full-scale war in February 2022. The journalists note that the actual figures are likely significantly higher, as their verified information comes from public sources such as obituaries, posts by relatives, regional media reports, and statements from local authorities. The media outlets publicly released the full list of named casualties for the first time last month. The media organizations claim to have been the frequent targets of misinformation campaigns seeking to discredit the project by making it seem unreliable or easily manipulated, through the use of falsified obituaries, the journalists added. On February 24, independent Russian media outlets Meduza and Mediazona estimated in a report that around 165,000 Russian troops have been killed since the launch of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, including nearly 100,000 in 2024. President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed on February 15 that Moscow had lost around 250,000 soldiers, with 20,000 killed in battles for Russia's Kursk Oblast alone. Russia has gained ground in eastern Ukraine and Kursk Oblast in recent months, but at the cost of heavy casualties as well as equipment losses. Moscow does not disclose its casualty figures, although a defense ministry official let slip in December that the department received 48,000 requests to identify missing soldiers. In an interview with NBC published on February 16, Zelensky said over 46,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed and 380,000 injured on the battlefield. As of March 28, Russia has lost a total of 910,750 troops since the full-scale invasion began, Ukraine's General Staff reported. The estimate, which is broadly in line with estimates made by Western intelligence agencies, likely includes those killed, captured, wounded, and missing.
Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 fighters, modified to lob American and French-made precision glide bombs, are blowing up bridges in western Russia, Forbes reports. A video montage that circulated online depicts bombs slamming into bridges as Ukrainian surveillance drones observe. Forbes says that it's obvious what the Su-27 pilots, members of a war-hardened community of aviators flying Ukraine's dwindling force of ex-Soviet heavyweight fighters, are trying to do. They're trying to isolate the swathe of Belgorod bordering northern Ukraine, where Ukrainian troops have launched a new incursion just weeks after retreating from neighboring Kursk Oblast. Dropping bridges over the Siversky Donets River and other waterways in Belgorod and Kursk could be the key to this effort. The Kursk operation, which kicked off in August, failed in part because Ukrainian forces were unable to prevent Russian forces from crossing the Seam River on the western side of the Ukrainian-held salient. The Russians closed in from the west, eventually deploying an elite drone force that severed the main supply line into the salient, destroying hundreds of Ukrainian vehicles and ultimately forcing the Ukrainian survivors out of Kursk. According to Forbes, clearly Kiev's troops are determined to avoid a repeat of their defeat in Kursk. It's not yet apparent how grand the Ukrainians' ambitions are in Belgorod. The current incursion may, by design, be brief and shallow. But if they do aim to occupy a meaningful portion of Belgorod, they'll need the region's rivers to work for them. Modified to carry Hammer glide bombs from France and similar joint direct attack munitions and small diameter bombs from the United States, the Su-27s are equipped for the task. But flying close enough to western Russia to target its bridges is dangerous, even for the speedy, maneuverable Su-27s. Forbes says that fortunately their pilots have help. While the Su-27s lack self-protection systems, such as radar jammers, the jets are now flying alongside ex-European Lockheed Martin F-16s and ex-French Mirage 2000s that do have highly capable jammers and can extend their electronic protection to nearby planes, including Su-27s. We carry out flights to cover our other combat brothers, the MiG-29s and Su-27s, one Ukrainian F-16 pilot said in a recent official interview. The complex strike planning, with different plane types supporting each other, appears to be working. Days or even weeks into the bridge bombing campaign, the Ukrainians haven't yet lost any jets, which is fortunate for the Su-27 force. Ukraine went to war in February 2022 with no more than 57 flyable Su-27s and has lost at least 16 in action, including 6 that were damaged or destroyed last summer in a Russian missile attack while parked at Mirgorod Air Base, 100 miles from Ukraine's northern border with Russia. Ukraine doesn't build Su-27s, and none of its allies have surplus examples of the type. Every bridge-busting Su-27 Kyiv loses is a bridge-busting Su-27 it can't replace. Massive attacks on the Engels Air Base in the Saratov region cost Russia $980 million, writes Forbes. On the morning of March the 20th, Ukrainian drones struck the Engels Air Base, where strategic bombers are stationed, for the third time in 10 weeks. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, the explosions destroyed 96 Kh-101 cruise missiles, which were one of Russia's key weapons for strikes against Ukraine. The missiles launched by Tu-95 and Tu-160 bombers have a range of 900 kilometers and carry 450-kilogram warheads. The General Staff in Kiev said the munitions had been prepared by Moscow for attacks on Ukrainian cities in the near future. The 96 missiles destroyed are equivalent to 2 months of production at the Raduga Design Bureau plant outside Moscow. Each Kh-101 costs at least $10 million, meaning Russia's total losses from the strike on Engels could reach $960 million, not including damage to fuel depots and other facilities at the base. When explosions and smoke billowed from the airbase on March the 20th, the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Communications noted wryly that Engels was facing serious difficulties, but those problems had begun even earlier. On January the 8th, Ukrainian drones flew more than 400 miles to strike the Saratov region where the base is located. Explosions then caused a fire at a warehouse storing 800,000 tons of fuel. The fire raged for nearly a week and was only fully extinguished on January the 14th, when Ukrainian drones carried out another attack. That day, Stratcom warned there will be no rest for the wicked. Ukraine has developed a wide arsenal of long-range drones, including modified sports aircraft capable of carrying hundreds of kilograms of explosives up to 1,300 kilometers. It has also developed a long-range version of the Neptune cruise missile, which has already been used in combat. Most of these strikes have targeted Russian ammunition depots, such as the base in Engels. But the Frontelligence Insight Analysis Group says more than half of the attacks recorded between September and February had limited impact. Russian repair crews quickly repaired damaged facilities, and the military industry found ways to compensate for losses. More frequent attacks using more powerful munitions rather than light attack drones could be more effective, experts say. However, Ukraine has limited access to long-range precision Western missiles such as the British Storm Shadow, French Scalp, and American ATACMS. Domestic production of such systems, including the Neptunes, has not yet reached the necessary scale. That's why Ukraine's strategy has changed recently, with drones now more often targeting Russia's critical oil infrastructure, which has significant economic clout. The Ukrainian military expects that strikes on the energy sector will have a long-term impact, unlike attacks on ammunition depots, even if the explosions of the depots look more impressive on camera. Let us recall that last week, the SBU and the Special Operations Forces carried out drone attacks on the Engels airfield in the Saratov region of the Russian Federation. As a result of the attack, a fire, explosions and secondary detonations of ammunition occurred at the airfield. In addition, during the attack, the enemy air defense was unable to counteract the Ukrainian drones. British intelligence noted that the strike was the most successful attack on enemy munitions in 2025. It was emphasized that the attack caused significant damage and is likely to disrupt strike operations from this airfield.